Hello, I'm Leslie, and for my informative speech today, I am going to be talking about autism. Autism is a nervous disorder that can affect communication skills, listening skills, verbal skills, a lot of the senses that we use everyday life. A lot of people actually do not know what autism is, probably, unless you have a family member that is diagnosed or you have a friend that is diagnosed. I have a nephew who does have autism, and this is why I'm going to be talking about it today. In a world where everyone is different, and with how much conflicts go on day to day, being different is just crazy anymore. But people who have autism are different, but they are different in one of the best ways, I would say. I feel like people who have autism have a greater meaning to life. They are more open about things. They understand better. Some of them are even smarter than a normal thinking nervous system. And with that being said, I want to give a quote from Work University, and it is called Girls and Women with Autism. Girls and women with autism are often undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or receive a diagnosis later in age. I was talking about men and women, but I want to bring my focus into women with autism because, as my nephew, he was diagnosed at a very young age. He was diagnosed around 7, 8, and he was able to get the therapy he needed to understand how to communicate better and how he should not worry about certain things that he could not control himself. But I have a coworker from a few jobs back that I used to work with, and I will not name her for privacy reasons, but she really opened up my eyes to autism and made me understand this disorder more. She was a great person, and her mind thought like no other. I have never been able to understand quite like an autistic brain does. She was joyful. She was bright. She was always smiling. But from a young age, she was not diagnosed like my nephew was. And she did not get the therapy that she needed to learn communication skills later in life or verbal skills. So even though she was functioning, she had a job, she could communicate, there were still some barriers. It was almost like you were speaking to someone that spoke a different language than you. But she overcame this disability and she worked with it. I believe that if people knew about autism more and spoke about it more and did more research into it, not only would men who were diagnosed with it at a young age would be prospering, we would have women that would prosper. Women have been held back for centuries in this world. That's a whole nother conversation. But I feel like girls should not be diagnosed with anxiety disorders and bipolar disorders, OCD tendencies, whenever it can be summed up to autism and brought back to it. But women are so good with camouflaging these effects because you want to be like your peers. You don't want to be odd, different, not normal. But it is okay to be not normal. It is okay to be brighter, better, happier, smiling, and that's exactly what my coworker was. And I never knew really what autism was until I met her. And then a year later, my nephew was diagnosed. After that, it made so much more sense to me. And ever since then, if I see someone who doesn't communicate well, or a friend that has different tendencies, and they're like, oh, it's because I'm anxious and stuff like that, I don't necessarily look at it as a mental disorder. I look at it as, well, what if this could be them, and what if they're in her shoes? I want people to spread awareness about autism and make it known that it's not a bad thing that it can possibly help someone that you know in your life.